Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Stretch Professor, and today we're going to be looking at a patch preview for 11.4. So as always, if you enjoyed the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream. Usually starts around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, goes till about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very friendly, chill community. I try to be as conversational as possible with the chat, and we release fresh patch notes and tier lists for every role, every patch. So come by, like and subscribe, check all that out. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So the patch is not coming out until next week, but over the last few months, Mark Yetter, the league designer, has been posting what is usually 99% accurate of what those patch notes are going to be a week early so people can start thinking about it and planning ahead. Okay, so as far as the jungle goes, I'm not an expert on these jungle changes, so I'll just really briefly touch on it. I mean, it's going to be rough for a lot of junglers. I think it's somewhere between 50 to 75 gold off of a full clear. And I don't know the breakpoints on the experience, but I suspect that the power rush to level 4 is not going to work. So doing the 5 camp scuttle, I think is what it had taken before to get to level 4. That's probably not going to work. And I don't know about the level 3. So going something like red, blue, gromp, gank, are you still going to get level 3 off of that? I don't know. I'd have to test that on the PBE. I don't know the specific experience breakpoints on that. But if that is the case, that's going to hurt early game gank junglers a lot. They didn't touch the buffs themselves, so you're still going to hit level 2 off of red buff or blue buff, but I just don't know, what does this mean off of Gromp, right? Like, does that 10 experience really make a big difference, right? If you lose 10 experience here, and then you lose... I guess if you go double buff, you're only losing 10 XP. So most likely you'll still get it because blue and red are still going to be the same. But either way, it's going to be a nerf. So I think that some people are, might be predicting that we're going to go back to just a turbo gank jungle, but I honestly think it's still going to be the highly mobile power farming junglers. Now, the ones that have expensive items, so like the Karthuses and stuff like that need a ton of gold, the Lilias, maybe that's a problem. But the ones that are really baseline efficient, like Skarner, Udyr, stuff like that can power farm and just have a lot of baseline effectiveness who don't need a ton of gold, I think they'll probably be the main beneficiary. So we'll see. I don't think we're necessarily going to go back to like Jarvan, Lee Sin every game, that type of thing, but we'll see. Anyways, maybe go check out a like Tarzan or some other like jungle main who can really comment on that more in depth. I just don't play jungle enough to know the breakpoints on that, but I suspect the meta, at least of like the very top end champs, the like Skarner, Udyr, Rammus, especially at platinum and lower, are still going to be kind of your best picks. Okay, Moonstone Renewer is getting nerfed by 10 or 20 damage early, or 20 healing early, and then it's scaling up to be even. So you probably are going to get this around level 9 or so, unless you're just absurdly fed early. So about that midway break point. So instead of having 85, you're going to have 75. So you're going to be losing 10 heal. But you got to keep in mind that ramps up to do 100% extra. So then it's going to be 20 heal that you lose off of that. So 20 heal off of the 150 base that it used to be early on. Or I guess it would have been 170 or no, whatever that is. So it's, and then it goes up 100%. So I don't know, probably like 15 to 20 heal per heal once it's powered up. I mean, that does matter, especially once you start taking Grievous wounds into account, especially once you start taking like plus healing and shielding into account. I think this is going to be a pretty solid buff for Moonstone, and Moonstone needs to be nerfed. And I know a lot of people on the channel don't want to hear that. They love playing their Enchantress with Moonstone, but it's too strong, right? When a single item is healing for routinely 4,000 to 5,000 minimum, and often upwards of 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, and the damage items, like Mandate after the nerfs is probably doing like 2,000 to 3,000 damage. Same thing with Night Harvester, probably 2 to 3. Leandry's around 3. It's healing almost twice as much as the damage items are doing in damage. And you have the plus healing and shielding modifiers and all that extra stuff. Spirit Visage. It just gets amplified so much by so many different things in the game that it probably had to be touched. Now, I will say, again, hopefully people have learned their lesson. I don't know but anytime anyone starts talking about finding these really cool builds and using support items in other lanes, that should make you really nervous. because it's going to get it nerfed. So like LS, you know, telling everybody to go out and build Moonstone and play Ivern top and play, you know, Moonstone Lilia and stuff like that in the jungle, that's probably what got this nerfed, right? Because, you know, the win rates on some of these champions with Moonstone aren't that far out of line. The normal champions that are playing it in the bot lane, right? Like Sona's like 52 or something, Lulu's like 52 or 53, Seraphine is OP, you know, in general, but she's like, you know, 53 or 54. But anyways, it is getting nerfed. So, and that's mostly what got Mandate nerfed too, was people talking about playing Mandate on like Evelynn in the jungle, Mandate on Singe top, Mandate on, you know, Cassiopeia with Rylai's in the mid lane. All of that stuff is what ended up getting Mandate nerfed a couple of times too. So you do not want people, if you're a support player, you do not want people building support items and talking about support in other lanes. You don't want people playing Karma and Lulu top and stuff like that, because that's going to get them nerfed. Because there's a certain ecosystem that support items are designed for. They're designed for people who don't CS, who don't get a lot of gold, and so that way they're getting their item. The support should be getting their item around when the carries are getting their items. So whenever you have carries start to get support items and they get ahead of the curve, especially on items that are like this innately powerful, they get ahead of the curve and can really start causing some balance issues. So they almost always slam any item that starts getting picked outside of its intended role, especially when it's a support item. Okay, Everfrost casts a little faster. Build path now has a blasting wand in it, or now has a Kindle gem in it. Same cost. They're giving you 100 extra gold ish in terms of health, and the active is doing 25 more damage and has 5% more scaling. I don't think this is going to change who wants this, but I don't know. Like, the champions that already maybe kind of get this, like Ahri or Veigar, maybe they'll try this a little bit more. I mean, the stats are becoming pretty attractive on it, right? I don't know what the exact breakdown is going to be, but it's definitely going to be over 100%, maybe 105 to 110% on the stats. So the real drawback, I believe, is it doesn't wave clear like Luden's, and it costs 3,400 gold. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to change, but there might be some champions that can chain CC stuff together that might like something like this. But I don't know, maybe because a lot of the melee champs who would like something like this, like maybe Echo or Diana or something like that. Like with Echo, you could use this and like snare them to make sure that your stun's going to hit off of your W. So that could be an interesting combo. It does have health on it. It is a bit more expensive than Essence Reaver, but I don't know. Maybe that's enough. It's only a 20-second cooldown on it, so you can use it over and over again. Pretty much every fight it's going to be up. So I don't know. Maybe Echo would get something like this. He really doesn't need the mana as much, I don't think, but there might be some combinations that would use it. So we'll see. Cosmic Drive. So there's no on spell hit interactions anymore, and if you have 160 AP, which you can get this just off of 2 items, because Cosmic has 75, and then any other major item is probably going to get you to 160 if you have runes. Even Mandate, if you have your updated ward item, Mandate, then that would give you 15, and then you complete Cosmic, and that's another one that'll give you 30, so that's 70 AP on Mandate, and then 75 on Cosmic. That's 145. Then if you have the 8, I believe it's 8 AP runes, then that'll bring you up to 161. So you can get it off of 2 items, even as a support. And they're removing 10 flat ability haste off of it, but then you can gain 20, so that's a net positive of 10. And then you gain this movement speed. So it's definitely good. It's just, is it better than Staff of Flowing Water on supports? Probably not, because Staff of Flowing Water is basically 2,300 gold for 80 AP and gives your team, 1,000 gold buff for everybody who's affected. So that's the thing. Staff of Flowing Water is just so good that on Enchanters, it's really hard to imagine getting any other item unless maybe it's the Putrefier if you are going to be shredding thousands of HP, removing a ton of healing. maybe Putrefier, but other than that, it just feels like you have to go Staff of Flowing Water. The movement speed is too good. They need to nerf Staff to make it to where it's giving like 10%, maybe even 5% movement speed, because the movement speed buff is just way too good. So anyways, cool item. You might see it on like a Shyvana. Who else would like this? Probably not Singed. Maybe Rise or Cassiopeia or something like as a really late item, 3rd or 4th. I thought about it on Rakan. As far as supports go, he's the one where it's like, okay, he really likes movement speed, he really likes AP, he really likes ability haste. So in theory, this item would be good. It's just that Staff of Flowing Water exists. So that makes it tough to purchase something like this. I really wish they would just lower the cost down to 2,500 and just nerf the stats accordingly, right? So just knock off like, I don't know, 100 HP and 10 AP or something like that, 15 AP, whatever the number is, and just still make it about 100% efficient, make it a 2,500 gold item. Then it would be a little bit more attractive. As it is, probably not a lot of people can get it. Okay, Gensu's is getting an extra 5% attack speed, so that's 125 gold worth of stats. Okay, so probably not going to matter on Senna, who's getting Gensu's recently. I'm not going to go into all the reasons for that. I think it's to bypass the crit penalty, so you have better like on hit, and so that your Q can trigger that on hit damage on people. But she really doesn't care about the attack speed. She just wants the crit conversion to the on hit, so it won't matter on her. Might matter for, like, obviously Vayne's going to like it. She usually gets that. Champions that are kind of out of the meta, these on-hit champs, like maybe Kog'Maw or something might like it. If Twitch ever went for anything like that, maybe he'd like it, but Twitch really doesn't do that too much. I mean, if he's getting Nashor's Tooth, which most people are rushing Nashor's into Death Cap, maybe you could get that as a 3rd item, but I think a lot of people want to pick up a Mythic at that point. So I'm not sure. So minor buff to Vayne, other people probably not going to make that much of a difference. Okay, and then Chain Sword is getting an extra 100 health, so that's 200 gold. So what they're doing with these is they're pretty much making them 100% cost efficient, because right now, whenever you get Oblivion Orb, you're only paying really like 100 or 200 gold to get the 40% Grievous Wound. Same thing with Executioners. But when you upgrade them, when you go all the way to Morellonomicon, then you're paying like 300 or 400 gold for the Execute. So it just feels kind of weird that it actually becomes less cost efficient as you upgrade the item. Excuse me. So that's just kind of a feels bad where a bunch of people just like will sit on Oblivion Orb and get another item. So they're trying to entice you to go ahead and complete these items. So they're not buffing Thornmail, they're not buffing Putrefier, and those are arguably the 2 best Grievous Wound items right now that you're seeing all the time. The Morellonomicon's a little surprising because that item's actually like pretty decent, and 10 extra AP is nice. But a lot of people probably are not going to get the Chain Sword. That is nice. I mean, it is health instead of AD, so that's worth noting. And then Mortal Reminder, a lot of people already get this item, so it's a little surprising they're doing this one as well. They'll do it like really late in the build though. So okay, a little bit more to combat healing and shielding to combat Moonstone. So okay, I still think there's just way too much healing. Even I mean, they did nerf Gore Drinker. You know, they have nerfed Eclipse. They're nerfing Moonstone, so they have nerfed a lot of the healing stuff. They nerfed Ravenous. So they're on the right track here, but they're also making it more appealing to go ahead and upgrade and get that 60% Grievous now. Okay, champion nerfs, Samira, basically graveyard. I mean, I think a lot of people overdo it with the nerfs and buffs. They're like, oh my god, this champion's OP with a buff, or oh my god, this champion's dead with a nerf, right? Like, Gore Drinker is dead, no one's going to get Gore Drinker. Yeah, they are. Gore Drinker's still good, right? Last patch. But this one, I don't think it's hyperbole to say this is going to be absolutely catastrophic for Samira. I mean, this is like 8 different nerfs. So, she can't jump to her allies. She can't, her dash speed is lower, so she loses a lot of her escape and mobility. She's going to be really vulnerable in the laning phase without this. Her W duration is going from 1 second to 0.75 seconds. Okay. Q damage ratio is much weaker early, and then scaling. That is what you max first, but in the laning phase, it's still going to be a little weaker. It's a pretty low cooldown. It's your harassment tool. Your passive melee bonus AD ratio is down, so you're going to gain a lot less. Now, it looks like at later levels it might be a little better. So you're gonna scale up and do more later, but like for the first 9 or 10 levels, it's gonna be a lot weaker. And then your R cooldown is 3 to 8 seconds. Usually you don't cast this twice in a fight, but this does kind of clamp down on some of those cases where you don't cast it. So I don't know. These are like a lot weaker early. If it wasn't the remove the dash to allies, this might be a little bit like it might be salvageable. But I think this is going to be at least 3 or 4%, and I would not be surprised if it was like a 5% nerf. Right now in solo queue, like, I don't understand why they're nerfing her, because it's just a lot of people complain about her and hate going against her. And you could say, okay, well, it's just because, like, pros or high-end people are good on her, right? So the best case scenario is too good. And it's like, maybe, but if you go look at, like, her pick rate and, like, win rate in pro right now, it's not really that good, right? She's got a 47% win rate, and she's only picked 30% of the time. So usually in pro, when they decide to nerf something, they look at the presence, not necessarily the win rate, but the presence. So if something is over an 80% presence, which is pick plus ban rate, that's when they start looking at it to consider nerfing it. But she only has 30%, right? She's the 6th most picked AD carry, and she's the 2nd lowest win rate AD carry of those 6. So it's not a pro thing. Okay, we might be thinking, all right, well, is it a solo queue thing then? Right, well, let's take a look. Solo queue, 50% win rate. Right, of the mainstream 80 carries, right, we got Trist, Ashe, Kaisa, Twitch, Vayne, Sivir, Jhin, Corki. Now, Corki's I'm not going to count Corki. Nobody plays him. That's 7. 8 is Draven, 9 is Misfortune, 10 is Senna, 11 is... No one plays Kog'Maw, we won't count that one. 11 is Kalista, has to be at least a 1% play rate. 12. So, of the ADCs that are mainstream ADCs that are picked more than 1% of the time, she is the 12th lowest win rate. And she's only picked 15% of the time. That's Platinum Plus. I mean, what is it in Challenger? Keep in mind that Challengers often play against Diamond, so like everybody's going to have a high win rate in Challenger. But even in Challenger, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, she's still the 6th lowest win rate. She's the 2nd most picked, but she's the 6th lowest win rate. So there are 5 other ADCs that have a higher win rate than she does. So I don't know. I think it's just people complain about the win wall so much over and over and over again, or her blade slash or whatever it is, because they don't like the mechanic, that they finally just nerfed her. But that many nerfs, right? Like, how about just start with the E and go from there? I mean, I don't necessarily have a horse in this race. I don't play Samira. No one that I duo with from time to time consistently plays Samira. But I just feel bad for her because she's a relatively new champ, and you know, I think she's cool. I think she's pretty unique for an ADC. I think there's like pretty good skill expression in her kit. So I think she's fun. I think she's interesting. Yes, the win wall thing is very annoying, but yeah, I mean, Morgana's Black Shield's annoying. Yasuo's win wall is annoying. Tahm Kench is annoying. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those things have been nerfed, but I don't know. I don't think it warrants 8 things. If you want to take a look at it, nerf the win wall thing. Like this right here, going from 1 second to 0.75, I would be like, okay, that's an annoying mechanic. We want more skill expression with that. Okay, right? Like, I could see that being a thing. Or maybe even taking it down to 0.5, right? So you have to be, you know, almost like Sivir Spell Shield kind of territory. But all of this is just, it's just too much. So, I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, I think that's 3% down. Could be wrong about that. Maybe the scaling pulls her through into late game. But she was already pretty weak early, in my opinion. And it'll make it a lot worse. Okay, so Kaisa. Kaisa is an actual threat. She's 53% win rate, over 40% play rate, like 90% played, and 89% in pro. So yes, everyone agrees Kaisa needs a nerf. I mean, she's a cool champion. They sell 1 billion skins with her. Everybody likes Kaisa. She's cool. What are they doing to her? So base missile damage per missile is going down by 5, and then the max single target is going down by up to 20, and then the max evolved is going up to 37, 38. So that's going to matter, but I still think she's probably going to be pretty good. Because you got to keep in mind that she has a really high ratio, and they're not hitting her ratio on that either. I don't remember what it is. Let me look on the wiki here. I feel like it's over 100%. Like when all those missiles hit you, I feel like it's over 100%. So that means that, you know, it looks like, you know, 37's a lot, but if you have like, you know, 100 AD, then all of a sudden it's not, it's 37 out of like 600 or something, which is like a 3% nerf or something like that. 2.5 or 3% nerf to her damage. But let me see. I'm pretty sure that she has crazy ratios on her missiles. Yeah, 150% of your bonus AD on the evolve. So that means if you have 100 AD, then it's an extra 150 on top of this. And 100 AD is extremely modest. You're often going to have way more than that because she's rushing Gale Force, and then she's going to be getting the Collector after that. So those two right there, I think, are like 120 AD. Now it's bonus AD, not total AD. But nevertheless, you know, that is going to put you at pretty much 600 damage, like 550 to 600, like I said. And when you're talking about losing 30 damage on that, my calculator right here. So let's call it, we'll just call it 40. We'll round up. We'll say 40 from 38. We'll round up to 40. 40 divided by 600. 6. Okay. So she's basically like later in the game, she's going to lose, the maximum amount is going to be like 6% of the damage on her missiles. It's like, come on, man. She still has so much in her kit. It's still going to be cracking people for like 550 damage instead of 600 on an ability that's a 6-second cooldown. And just she can jump around on a really low cooldown. Killer Instincts, 110 seconds, gives her just an insane AD shield. I mean, she just does too much. What I would like to have, what I would wish they would have done instead is just knock off 25 range. That would say, okay, she's basically like Lucian. She does a hell of a lot of stuff. She's very mobile. She has a lot of things in her kit, but she's going to be much more dangerous to position in fights. If she has that kind of mobility, invisibility, all that type of stuff, she needs to be lower range. She needs to be in the Sivir Lucian type of area. So that's what I would like to see. But I don't think that this is going to matter that much. It will matter a little bit, but maybe 0.5%, if that, on her win rate. But I think it's not going to matter that much. Okay, Skarner, base HP is going down by 20 early, and then HP per level is 5. So by level 6, he's going to lose 30, and then 20 off the base, like 50 HP. He's probably going to have around 1,000. So kind of with his items and things like that, and just his levels. So 5% of his HP in the mid game, not going to matter. You know, it's the problem is the Chem Tank. They're not going to nerf that. They need to either nerf Chem Tank or Dead Man's or Phase Rush, because it's just way too much speed on these champions. That traditionally the answer to stuff like Skarner, Udyr, and Rammus is, well, just kite them. But it's really hard to do that now. So anyways, I don't think it's going to matter. Maybe 0.5%. Especially now that the jungle got a lot weaker, I think that people aren't going to be able to go invade and mess with him as much early on. So we'll see. Although he will be more vulnerable to getting invaded, losing that base 20 HP. Okay, Renekton, the healing on waves is going down. So not at early levels, it's not even anything. And then it looks like at later levels, no, it is a little bit at all levels. So you just can't heal off the wave with your Q. I think that's a good change. Just historically, anything that has significant healing off of the minions is just too strong. That always ends up getting nerfed. Just like if you remember, Akali's Q used to heal. It's just non-interactive and just allows you to take really aggressive trades, and it's just not a lot someone can do if you have a high level of sustain on the minions. So that's good. And people might be wondering, okay, well, Renekton has a negative win rate in solo queue, or maybe it's like 50% or something like that. But he's picked all the time in pro. So I saw some people complaining on Yetter's thing. Well, why is he getting nerfed? Well, he's close to 80% presence. That's why they're tapping him a little bit. Like, the combination of Renekton plus Nidalee is extremely good in, like, China and South Korea especially. So he's a little on the strong side. They did nerf Gore Drinker last patch, so yeah, it kind of feels bad if you're a top laner, but at the same time, like, he's just too strong in some scenarios. So once that's not gonna matter in combat, right? It's just against minions. So it's just his sustain in the lane is getting tapped. They're not even removing it. You can still heal off the minions. You're just, if you hit a full wave with this, you're going to have like 12 less HP or something, you know, in the early game. So it's really not going to make that much of a difference, I don't think. And then Camille is laughable. This was one of the biggest memes in the comments of this tweet, is that this champion has just been dominating. I mean, dominating might be a strong word. She feels really oppressive when she's too strong. But realistically, her win rate in Pro is only 51%, and in solo queue, it's like 51 or 52. But if you're good on her, she can feel super oppressive. She just takes a while to come online, right? Usually you need either Trinity or Divine Sunder, and then you need Ravenous, and then you're kind of off to the races. But that's like over 6,000 gold. So she is very strong. She does do a lot of things out there, but she can be CC'd and blown up. Her build is squishy. She doesn't usually get a Sterix second. She'll get another damage item, so she is susceptible to getting ganked and assassinated and all that kind of stuff. So, but this really doesn't adjust. I was hoping maybe they'd hit her passive shield a little bit, or just some of her scaling, right? Like, they're trying to hit her sustain in lane, because the W does give you sustain if you hit people with it, but I would rather see them take down the best case scenario just a little bit and leave her this. So just like nerf the scaling on her free shield, or nerf the scaling like of the true damage on her Q. But anyways, we'll move faster because I do want to try to do this within 30 minutes if I can here. Caitlyn, not going to matter that much. The attack speed, her base amount is so low, and she doesn't get that many attack speed items anyways to begin with, so that's probably not going to matter. 80 per level, it's not going to matter. Her position in the meta is still going to be fine. The problem is she's just like outgunned by Senna right now, I think. Senna's just kind of a better version of Caitlyn. So I still think that Caitlyn is not going to be that great for most people unless you're extremely good on her. She's a very like technical, mechanically intensive ADC. Like, you have to get your traps, you have to know your different attack resets and animation cancels and all that kind of stuff, especially if you're going to be using Gale Force. Fiora, she has better scaling now that's the true damage whenever she procs one of her vital points. So that's actually pretty good. She does get quite a bit of AD with her build. She's going to take a while to come online. I still think Camille is just a better version of that, because Camille has that lockdown and the outplay potential with the ult. She's more mobile with her E. But Fiora is probably better at consistently taking down mega tanks, although I'm not sure. I just feel like if you're going to play Fiora, you might as well just play Camille, but maybe at like 3 or 4 items, if it's just like straight split push or showdown, Fiora's probably going to be better, but Camille just does a lot more, I think. Soraka, so her Q movement speed is getting bumped up a little bit, 5%, and that's really kind of a big deal, because remember, whenever she hits a Q and heals someone else, they get that movement speed too. So she can speed up herself and 1 or 2 of her allies with this also. And then her base heal is going up by 10 more. They are nerfing Moonstone. They are buffing Grievous Wounds. I really don't like this pattern of nerf and buff that they're doing with Soraka. Just like an arms race. Just diversify her kit. Like, still let her heal, but give her something else. Like I've said, the empowered Q, instead of a bonus heal over time, make it a shield or a decaying shield. Just give her some kind of shielding in her kit. Or like with your R, if they're below 50%, instead of getting increased healing, why don't you make it into a shield? So that way she's not hit as hard by Grievous Wounds, right? And that's one of the things that why Sona has consistently had a higher win rate than Soraka. One reason among many is that a lot of her W is the shield, right? So she heals, but she also gives the shield. Same thing with Seraphine. She heals with her W, if it's empowered, but you also get a shield with her. So I wish they would just diversify Soraka a little bit more. But if you can keep her safe with this, you know, you got to remember that she, you know, can get a lot of plus healing and shielding as well. So this ends up getting multiplied by a bunch of different things. Revitalize, plus healing and shielding, if they have Spirit Visage, all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, all right, we'll take a few more minutes. We'll see if we can keep it under 35. But okay, I mean, she does have a negative win rate right now. Almost every other enchanter is positive, so I agree that she needs a buff. I would just rather see them give her more utility, or even give her a little bit more movement speed off of that, right? But just flat buffing the heal, I think is, I don't know, just seems like it's not the answer. It's just trying to take a sledgehammer to something that probably needs a bit more of just a scalpel. Okay. Okay, Varus, so 80% increased damage on the Q charge when you activate your W. It's just he just has a really weird mess of a kit, and they need to figure out, like, the most recent rework just threw him in the gutter. They need to figure out, do they want to make him like a sniper, like just really a hard poke ADC, or do they want to make him an on-hit ADC? Because right now, both of those are bad. So they just need to kind of choose. I think the sniper one is cooler. I think that it's more unique. It also is like very difficult to balance at really high levels of play. People that consistently hit those arrows, if it hits too hard, it could be OP. So it is a difficult little dance, but so this might matter. This is going to make your Q hit like really hard, but that's a long cooldown. It's like 40-second cooldown on that W active. So that's just like if you're really good at hitting that arrow, you can come a lot closer to one-shotting somebody. W max damage, I'm not sure, but I don't think this is going to matter either way. I think he's still going to have some problems. Okay, and then Braum, this is really nice. I like this. This is what I've been saying for years. Make his cooldown 120 seconds. Most other major tanks, when you think about Nautilus, Leona, you know, stuff like that, I think even Rel, it's 120 seconds or less on the ult. So this is going to, you know, maybe bring him back in a little bit. He's not terrible right now. He's got like a 50 or 51% win rate. I don't know if he's getting played in pro at all. You got to keep an eye on that, because if he's good, he starts getting picked up. I think that Rel is just a much better version of Braum right now in terms of just peeler, protector, tank. But I do like Braum getting a little love. I know people, there's definitely a group of people that love Braum on the channel, so I think it's nice. The shield is just a good tool to have against stuff like Misfortune, Seraphine. You know, there's a lot of things that it can be good at. So I don't know this is necessarily going to propel him a ton into the meta, but I might see him come up 1% here. Maybe starts getting picked with very specific synergies like Lucian a little bit more often. So, okay. Jinx health's going up by 60 again, back to 610. That's kind of weird that she has so much, but now that I think about it, it was like a year or two ago. The really immobile 80 carries, your Jinxes, your Twitches, and things like that just got a huge buff to their base HP so they could fight more to kind of make up for the fact they don't have mobility. So, okay, sure. I don't think it's going to matter that much for her. Veigar, the Q cost is coming down by 10. R is at max level, it's going down to 60 seconds. Okay, sure. This is interesting, especially for like bot lane Veigar maybe, or I don't know if support Veigar. Like you can spam your Q a lot more in the early game, which is good if you're trying to like get it on enemies, and if you're in the bot lane, like enemy champions instead of just farming with it. So yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't think it's going to move the needle too much on him, but it might help out a little bit. And then Talon, the W cooldown is going 9 to 7. This is what you max first, so you might be able to get off more rakes and fights, which is good. He's probably going to get, Ionians? I think he's on Gore Drinker these days. Maybe Dustblade. Both of those have 20% ability haste, so yeah, I think he might be able to get off 2 of these in some fights, which is going to be nice if you don't have enough to just like flat out, you know, one-shot somebody. And the ratio is a bit higher, which is pretty nice. That's a pretty significant buff there, and that will help him wave core a little bit more, so probably won't move the needle too much. I think they're going to be better assassins, but okay, sure. Lee Sin is a 1 second less on the Q. Probably not going to matter. If we go to a hyper ganking meta, maybe you start seeing him a little bit more with Gore Drinker and stuff like that. I have seen some decent Lee Sins, so I think maybe he's a little underrated, but his win rate is pretty low right now, so that can be kind of rough. Tryndamere, 3 extra AD, probably not going to matter. Doesn't solve a lot of his problems in the top lane, but if he can, you know, get to 2 or 3 items, he can still kind of take over. And then Amumu, the last one that I'll mention. This is nice. It does help his scaling damage, but the big problem was they lowered his ult you know, to where it's 150-second cooldown again, and now it's only 1.5 seconds instead of 2 seconds. So that was a really big hit. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.